full learning management type of system with a kind of computer programming coding focus. So we have the online IDE and many other tools that are really useful to coding, but you can kind of develop a whole curriculum right online in the web browser where students can run their code and do a number of different things. So some of the aspects of coding, the main ideas is, again, the IDE. This IDE runs right in the web browser. So students on Chromebooks or iPhones, iPads can run code. And what's great about it is it's not just in the web browser kind of version of the code that's running. We run a full robust Linux instance. So their code still runs on a Linux machine, or what you'd think of as a typical desktop machine. And we virtualize that environment for them completely. Major businesses are doing this across the board with their dev environments. So even professionals are kind of starting to work this way, where their code executes somewhere else on some other server, and kind of they're just seeing, on their machine, the output and stuff like that. So we run all kinds of graphical programs, desktop applications, anything you can do on your local machine, you can develop on coding rooms. You can kind of customize and create all kinds of content because we have a number of interactive blocks that you'll see. So not only can you have the programming environment, but we have multiple choice questions, short answer questions, fill in the blanks, Parsons problems, code select, and a number of other interactives that you can build in your content for learners and assess them. Another fantastic element is everything you'll see updates in real time. So as learners are working on a page, answering a multiple choice question, you can click on their page and you can see them answer that multiple choice question. You can see their response in real time as they select A versus when they click B, it will change to B. And of course, in the programming environment, you can see them typing in real time and you can jump in and help them in real time. So the console where the code runs syncs in real time between you and the students, as well as their individual submissions, all kinds of things like that. And what this allows you to do is also create group work. So you can have learners collaborate in real time also in the coding environment, multiple choice, short answer, anything. We do have built-in video conferencing. So you can open up a video conference with your learners, as well as our presentation mode, which actually allows learners to see you type in real time and present code right inside the same browser window. So if they are working on small Chromebooks, and that's it, they don't have to switch between tabs to see what you're doing and what they need to do and try out and do on their own. So excellent for demos. Even if you're projecting, the research we've done finds that this is so much faster, more efficient, and learners really appreciate being able to see what you're doing right inside their own browser window and not have to look up and down to kind of follow along with your demo. We do support auto grading, simple input-output tests to unit testing of a variety of frameworks, as well as even custom bash script tests. So you can write your own bash scripts to run on the Linux instance to test XYZ, databases, whatever it may be. And then we also have our marketplace where you can download a number of open source curriculum that's available, one of the most popular being CS Awesome. If any of you teach AP Computer Science A, this is a very popular curriculum, especially over here in New England. And we fully support that curriculum here on Coding Rooms for you to just be able to use out of the package. One of the best things in Coding Rooms is you can actually modify that curriculum to your liking, compared to if you use Runestone or got it some other way. It may be just, static web pages that your learners go through and you can get some maybe information on. But here in Coding Rooms, you can actually import CS Awesome, delete pages, delete text, add things of your own projects, etc., with ease. If you didn't already, it's just codingrooms.com. You can go in, you can create an account. We do have a free tier, so you can use the product for free. We have a 30-day free trial if you want to check out all the premium features. And throughout, if you'd like to ask me what's premium, what's not, please feel free. But just so you understand the basics, all of the kind of creating your own content, typing instructions, styling it is part of the free. The interactive blocks that we have part of the free is the Coding Rooms IDE. So yes, that means that you can create the kind of robust online IDEs for free with our free account. Multiple choice questions, short answer questions, and the embed block to embed other web pages like Google Docs or and other interactive things. Those are all part of our kind of free tier. So once you log into Coding Rooms and you do create an account, you can just create a new course. And you can start off with nothing. You can just start off with a blank, empty template and start creating your own things. Premium users get to mix and match stuff very easily by copying pages from other courses. So you can kind of copy and mix and match from our marketplace and the community, as well as right when you go to create a course, we give you a number of templates. Most of these are open source templates or Coding Rooms developed templates that you can use for free. They have an entire suite of, entire curriculum that you can completely modify and use to your liking. Most of them at this point in time over the summer, we're going to be looking to add a handful or even up to 20 more different open source curriculum that we can find. But they tend to be Java, C++, and Python related, with two of the most used ones being CS Awesome and Python for Everybody. These are two very popular courses used throughout CS1 university level and in the high school level. We'll be looking for some C# stuff also. So when we go to create a course, you can use one of these templates, and all it does is it gives you all these pages, all the stuff as part of this course to start off with. So feel free to create your own courses, start from a template. You can do any of those things because you can do whatever you want. You can delete what you don't like, add whatever you want, those kinds of things. We do support public courses also, which actually allows you to create essentially a website that anyone can access as long as they have the URL with a Coding Rooms course. So if you want to build content, we have different university professors that build like practice, just like that they don't grade or anything. They create a Coding Rooms public course. They create this own little practice site that students can log into, run their code, do a bunch of things like that. And it's just publicly accessible that anybody with the URL can just go to and kind of do these practice problems. All the same features in the Coding Rooms course that you'll see, public users can have access to also, just like a public web page with the interactive elements and everything. And then you can also publish all the content of these templates if you'd like. We'll kind of see what that looks like in a minute. So CS Awesome and Python for Everyone are quite large also. They have a number of things. CS Awesome, for instance, being an entire school year worth of material for the AP Computer Science A test. Python for Everyone, I think, has 20 different units of instruction. So most people don't end up teaching that in one semester or one school year. So they end up picking out kind of what they want to use. But you can see it just copied all that for me. So if you're familiar with the AP curriculum, you'll notice that 1 to 10 is kind of those typical units in the in College Board's CD. And then they have some post exam stuff, some other kind of practice and things, and so these nice little stories from people as post AP exam stuff that you can do. So what we have is we just have all of these pages of content. Again, you can create your own pages of content like this. That's one of the great things about the template is you can kind of see what you can do. This is a CS Awesome page. You can see it has text, images, text is formatted with bold and stuff like that. You can embed videos. This is a short answer question. These are all embeddable elements on the page. And as I mentioned, this is fully editable by you as the instructor. And we find that to be really important at Coding Rooms because one of the issues with a lot of existing curriculum is a lot of the times it's really difficult for you to be able to edit it the way you want, massage it for the learners in front of you. We want it to be incredibly easy. So you don't like this paragraph, you want to rewrite it, you can just delete it. This is just a regular text editor right here, our Coding Rooms rich Markdown editor. And so you can just type right there on the page, just like it was a Google Doc or something like that. And we even have real-time presence. So if there's multiple authors, we support multiple authors, multiple admins and teachers in a course, you just see them typing right there on the page and adding stuff, just like a Google Doc. And then what you can do is you can just click this plus button to start to add interactive elements to the page, as well as stylize other static things on the page, add a link, bullets, some custom HTML to really design something nice that you want to embed on the page, images, all that kind of stuff. But the real magic, all the real cool stuff is with our interactive blocks. Coding Room's IDE, multiple choice questions, short answer questions, drag and drop questions, Parsons problems, code select, checklists. So if you have identify requirements for a project, to have students check off each of those requirements as they complete them to keep track of things. Be able to add files for learners to download. You want learners to upload files to you to collect. Embed other web pages and lots of other things. And we have a number of things on our backlog to add. So all you do to add one of these things, like a multiple choice, you just click it, embeds on the page right there. And then you can start to design the question. Just type whatever the question is. And then you can go down. I would just press the down arrow key, and I can start to put in some different options. You can delete, so you only want 3 options. You can do that. There'll only be 3 options here. And you can add more options to be as many as you want. You can make this so that you can shuffle the different options. When a learner opens this up, they'll see it in a different order, each learner that opens it up. And there's a number of other things. At any point in time, you can just click View Preview. You can see it from a student's perspective. So we try to make the editing experience as much as what the students are going to see in the end for you, so you can understand that. But of course, you want to kind of interact with it and make sure it's correct. So for instance, with this one, I never selected a correct answer. So I can go around, I can play with it as a learner and go, oh, it's not marking the correct answer correct. You can go back to editing and you can say, oh, okay, I never selected a correct answer, that's why. And that warning goes away now. I can test it out. And I can make sure that it actually does the correct thing. By default, everything's designed for more of a formative assessment and instant feedback. So there's a check answer button there, and a learner can actually click check answer and see if they're right or wrong and try multiple times. If you don't want that because you're developing something that's more of a summative assessment, you can do that still on Coding Rooms. And there's a couple different ways you can manage it, but essentially you can turn off this instant feedback and that check answer button will no longer be available. You can also hide grades on the entire thing for something that is a full assessment, so that learners don't see a grade and don't see that instant feedback, and kind of can progress through the page. We do have the Coding Rooms ID, again, available that you can embed right there, right on the page. And it works as you'd expect. I always like to describe it as it's easy to use for beginners, so incredibly easy to use for beginners. They just click the green run button, runs their code, things happen. But it's also powerful enough to be used in more complex situations. This, for instance, is produce a graphical output. This is Unit 2 in the CS Awesome curriculum. It produces a graphical output because it actually shows a little turtle drawing stuff. I can open up the desktop of the Linux machine and actually view this, just like if they were developing on their local machine, only now I'm in the web browser. I'm just in Chrome, Edge, Safari, whatever browser, and I can actually see that happen. This is, again, it's a full Linux machine. So if you want to actually teach Linux, we have a number of professors that do. It has a full terminal for you to be able to do that. Students can even open up a file manager and kind of check out some of that stuff, navigate around the entire instance without destroying anything or messing up anything. We even have audio support. So if you're building games and stuff, they can actually turn on audio, this is a premium feature, and actually be able to hear the audio that their desktop application is producing. Let's say something with Pygame or something with Java. For auto grading, you can go over to the test bench. CS Awesome is really great because it comes with automated tests already for you. So if I was to run tests, for instance, on this one, I have some automated tests already pre-configured in CS Awesome for this. And really all this one does for this little example was, this was an example for learners. So it just says to them, hey, run the code. And it just checks to make sure they ran the code and it says they're good to go. It marks them correct. Other ones will actually ask them to do X, Y, Z, and it will actually test that. And CS Awesome really has, I mean, it took them an incredible amount of time to build these really, really nice automated testing. But you can create your own tests also. And I do have my website that I can provide to anybody that's interested. auto-grade.joemazzone.net. That goes over how to do auto grading in Python, Java, Ruby. And then I also have a package that I created to auto grade HTML and CSS, just raw HTML and CSS, to make sure students did certain things if you're teaching basic web design. But you can do input-output comparisons, unit tests, add manual grading for things like good variable names, so it allocates a certain amount of points for that, for you to go in and manually grade, good variable names, and you can create custom bash script tests. All these tests you develop right in here. Input-output tests, simply just provide what you'd like the student's program to get as input, what you'd expect their output to be, and we'll do a match and tell them if it's right or wrong. Unit tests, each unit test framework for the different languages has a different kind of boilerplate setup and things you can do in it. But you just provide the code right there, and it just does everything else for you for using these assertions to grade. We have a number of resources on doing auto grading also at Coding Rooms and the Help Center and on the YouTube channel. And like I said, you have, as a CSTA Rhode Island president, you have some resources right here. Yeah, so someone just asked for my auto grading link. Here for you guys. There's some resources there for you. Send me an email anytime you'd like, and I can point you to lots of resources. YouTube links, you can just paste them right in, they work, all that good stuff. Now,
would this be a curriculum where this, like if you were using the CS Awesome and the coding rooms, would it be something you just give to the students and they learn on their own, or is there some sort of like lesson plan that goes with it that the teacher actually does?
With CS Awesome specifically, there's lesson plans that CS Awesome provides in a secure Google Drive as part of their curriculum. So you go to the CS Awesome website for those things. Okay. What this is just the student-facing work that you can assign.
Okay, gotcha.
So how you can add students to your course to have them progress through this is in the people area, or even on the overview, we just let you get a join code. So you have a join link. We'll put that in the chat if anyone wants to join as a student. And I'm going to also join as a student over here, just so I at least have one, just in case none of you want to join. So you can see. If students have a Coding Rooms account, it's as easy as that to log in. I can see that my example student showed up right away. I didn't have to refresh anything. Most things in Coding Rooms, and we're continuing to improve, update right in real time in front of you as learners complete things and do things. So as you join, I should see you just automatically add to the list. When you join, if you do, but you can also see on my example learner here that nothing's published yet. So you control what you want the learners to see, publish with content-wise. Let's say this 2.1 that I was messing around with, I wanted to actually publish to learners. This button in the top right-hand corner will actually publish it for learners to actually see. All I have to do is click that button, and it publishes to the learners. Over here on the right, I should get that content. Didn't have to refresh, it should show up, takes a second, but shows up for the learner, and the learner now has access to that page.
Joseph, can you be a learner and a teacher in the Coding Rooms? Like when Google Classroom first started, I was trying to be a member of a class, like it wouldn't work way back when, but you can, yes. Okay.
Yep. And if you ever got stuck into a full learner account, our support person can always get you to the link in order to convert you back to an instructor's account where you can create courses. But you can, with an instructor account, join courses also as a learner. So you can see over here, learner can't edit the content of the page. They can only answer the questions and go through all that. Now, what you're seeing over on this right-hand side is the lightning grader. And so as students are working on a page, you can get some information about them. As a student gets something correct, the lightning grader that particular item will light up green, indicating that they get that particular question correct. As you can see, first item on the page was this multiple choice I added, and it is correct because I just got it correct. As you interact with other elements, it will light up maybe yellow in order to indicate that the student has interacted with that particular thing. You can see here. And as the student acquires points, if you have that instant feedback, you'll see their grade kind of go up over here in the lightning grader. As the student goes through, again, even with the coding, if you have automated testing, you can actually see if the student's getting things right or wrong with the tests that run. Let me actually break this. So this should light up green in a second. For this ID. I actually didn't. Oh, because I added some of these other crazy tests without anything. So that one actually some partial credit. So it did that. This is another powerful thing with coding rooms. I made a mistake as a teacher. One of my favorite things. I can just go and edit it live in real time. And say, whoops, didn't mean to have these other tests in there. Let me delete them. Okay, and the student can just check their answer again, and it will just work. It updates in real time as I update content. I can even update text on the page, and it will update on the learner's page in real time if you need to make any changes on the fly. I can jump on any learner's page. So let me do my example one here. And I can join them on the page. Again, I can see console output, sync between me and the learner. So you can see the teacher's view, I can see that in the learner's view, as well as the learner can see me type on their page in real time, just like in a Google Doc with their code, and I can see them in real time, moving around. This lets the teacher, add comments either using the programming language, or you can use our highlight, right-click, add a comment to add comments that way using the coding room system. This is also how you can grade learner work. So this is our grader view. And so you can manually type in a certain amount of points. Let's say you don't have any auto grading, that's fine. You can use coding rooms with that. Provide the learner with some feedback. You can submit their page. You can do a number of those different things. And it will all save. For learners, it's this green box at the top is where they see the feedback. They see it on their own grades page and some other, and on the overview when you leave feedback. But as soon as you leave feedback, it updates in real time and that bubble will show up there. We have some really great improvements over the summer that we're going to be doing for kind of the feedback system and some of that stuff in coding rooms. But that's it. You can go right onto the page, and because I went submit next, it went over to Liz's work now. I can see that. I can override Liz's grade. I can do any of those things. And I can just jump between learners really, really fast. Students can collaborate on projects, as I had mentioned. Great question, Patty. And so how you do that all has to do with the assignment policies. And so the assignment policies, this window over here, allows you to edit the rules for when you publish a page. How would you like these learners to see this stuff? This is something that we didn't expect a lot of our customers to find incredibly powerful, but a lot of other platforms really don't have this kind of control over the pages or content that you publish. So right now, the default always is every time you create a page or you import curriculum or anything like that, is it just publishes to all learners. You click that publish button, all learners will have access to it and they can work on it. You can edit that policy or add more policies if you want. So you can have a unique policy for a certain student that's been absent. So that student can have their own due date, things like that, all these things that you see here. And so this lets you set the assignment type as an individual assignment. Every learner that you assign it to gets an individual copy of the page. Or is it a group assignment? The groups of learners that you assign to this get a collaborative copy of the page. On the people page, you can create group sets, create all these different groups of students, and then you can assign it to that group set, and each of those groups will get that work. You can even technically create a group assignment with all learners where everybody's working on the same page. Actually, I can do that with you guys in a minute. Let me publish the next page that way, so we can see that. Discard those changes. All right, so 2.2, I'm going to make it so that it's a group assignment for all learners. Kind of a crazy thing, but all of you that have joined this course will be able to go on 2.2 and work together. When you go to the IDE, everybody will have access to the same IDE. You change multiple choice questions, everyone will have access to the same multiple choice questions. I'm going to save that as a group assignment. Shows up, hey, this is a group assignment. Publish. And now I just have one group working on this. So one item in the Lightning Grader, all students group just working on this. So if you guys go over there, you'll be able to actually all collaborate on the same thing. Other elements of the policy are, so you can select who you want to assign it to, who you want to create this little individual policy for, when you want to make it available. So if you want it to publish in the future, you want it to show up for students in the future, you set that date. Until date, if you want it to just go away, you don't want them to see it anymore. A lot of people like this for more exams. So it's not a page that always shows up in the course, it only shows up for a certain duration of time. A due date, so it will mark it late after that due date. We're also introducing in the next week late policy that you can deduct a certain amount of points after the due date cutoff when they can no longer work on it. And so that deduction would take place between the due date and the cutoff. Displaying the solutions, we're also working on that. That should be coming out in the next week or two, where you can actually display your model solution to a coding assignment, the correct answers from multiple choice, any of those things. You can display that to learners at a particular date and time, or just when you want to turn it on. And then grade visibility also with hiding the grades if you don't want to completely disable showing the grades and the instant feedback for those more summative assessments. You can either make it so at a certain date, it hides the grades until that date and it releases it, or when you want to just click to kind of release those grades. Those are all things you can do with the policy, and you can create, premium users can create as many policies as they'd like to kind of have a granular, this period has a due date for this, this individual student has a due date for that, etc. So I go back to 2.1, just because I don't want to do these next things on a crazy group assignment. We have a couple other things. One of the things in our original product was in the live classroom, a grid to see all the learners coding at one time. And we still have that ability. This tool over here for teachers, the grid view. Page refresh. The grid view will open up a real-time grid of all the learners coding at one time, answering multiple choice questions, seeing the short answer questions. I can open up all the questions for a particular assignment, I can open up that particular question and see all the students' responses at once. So here's our grid view. So notice I can see everybody's response for this multiple choice question. I can go down to the IDE, that first one that I keep showing off. I can see everyone's responses at once. The consoles will be live. I can see people typing in live. Holly, if you know how to get to this IDE, try to help me out here and click on there so I can see you moving around in real time. You can see all that stuff still in real time in this grid view, where you can just scroll down and check out what everyone's doing in class. If this is a little small for you, depending on your screen real estate too, you can make it so they're stretched across, a couple different ways. And you can, if you have other sections, you can sort just for that particular section. So there's a number of ways you can view this stuff. Liz said hi, Joe. So the other thing is, see, there's Holly typing in real time on that grid view. Thank you, Holly. I put you on the spot there. I saw you shuffling around the tabs. Now, the other thing is our presentation mode. And so with presentation mode, this is another excellent live teaching aspect. You're actually in your classroom, either remote or in person, and you can present this page to learners for them to see all this information in real time as you're demoing and going through stuff with them. So you have the presentation view, which is a side-by-side split view, so they can see your presentation and their own work side by side. We have the video conferencing, which I'm going to turn off, but if you leave the video conferencing on, a little video conferencing window pops up, so you can do the video conferencing right inside on the page. And follow presentation, you can force the learners, which I'm going to leave on, to go to the page that you're on. They can't go to other pages. So if you've ever done you're actually trying to teach the class something, you're demonstrating something, right? And you continue to see that half the students are working on yesterday's something, or not paying attention to you. This kind of helps them stay focused on that page that you're trying to go over with them, whatever you designed to go over with them in your course. So if I start this, any of you that are on in coding rooms, you'll be forced to 2.1 if you were on 2.2. I only published those 2 pages. You'll see, instead of just, I see presentation view and I get this blank space over here, you'll see presentation view in your own work, side by side. So what the presentation view is whatever I do on the presentation, you'll see. I click a multiple choice question, you'll see it update in real time. Over there, my choice. So as I'm talking to you guys in class, I say, maybe I ask everyone, what's the answer to this? I click it. Students now have a record of what that was. If you designed a review activity, I always mention to people that some of these things like the CS Awesome pages really aren't designed for that kind of live demo. However, we all know as teachers, we like to design kind of a lesson of things we want to review with students. And so you can design pages just for that. Now, where this is most powerful, in my opinion, is with the Coding Rooms IDE. So, learners, are at an IDE. A lot of our instructors just create pages for the presentation view that's just one IDE. Learners are just following along on one IDE type of thing. They can't mess around with the instructor's IDE. All they can do is see what the instructor's doing and type it. When the instructor runs the code, they can see that, but they can't edit this. If they go to edit it, it'll say can't edit that. So they can't edit the presentation view. They can only observe what's happening. And they work on their own. Now, what's great in presentation view also is you as the teacher can still open the lightning grader and you can still go to a particular student's work. Students can even raise their hand during this. So they have a little raise hand icon. You'll see that as your student in my course, and you can see that. So if you want to have some kind of cues for students to tell you when something's not going right while you're doing a demo, you can use that. Without interrupting your flow, you can very easily click on that student, get to their work, check out what's going on, whatever the error might be. Let's say it's semicolon missing, I'm going to run that code. You would actually see it, the issue there, and be able to tell them something right here. And they would see that right on their own work. If I go over there, you can see it over here, a little squished, but you can see that there. So you can open up those student responses right there at any point in time. You can also open up the grid view during presentation mode. So if you want to see everybody in like a nice grid, this is really great too. A lot of people like to do like entrance tickets on coding rooms with like the multiple choice and stuff like that. And so you do presentation mode as part of the entrance ticket. Students go in, they log into coding rooms, boom, they're brought right into the presentation. And then you can observe student responses in real time here. So you're checking to see like, all right, what everyone picked. And we have some really cool, we're designing some analytic, data visualization to go show up at the top for these two on a grid view. So you can get a nice summary. But so you can check out how everyone's answering, how they're doing with the particular little code challenge maybe you gave them as an entrance ticket or exit ticket type of thing, and observe that right in the grid view. And then review it with them as you go over the presentation.
Excuse me, Joe. When
Yeah.
as a student, the presentation view, it doesn't move when you move your view. Like I'm still stuck at the what's my name question. So the user
Correct.
has to just keep following along with the presentation, the student.
Yes. And that's why I would say some of like the CS Awesome pages that are really long pages aren't the best designed for this presentation scenario. I really encourage people to kind of, if you're doing a demonstration with learners and you want to use this presentation view, to deliberately design something for that kind of demo and presentation. But of course you can still do it. We are working on a couple of features of being able to turn on automatic scrolling to follow the instructor and to keep the two views synced. So working on a couple of things like that, and also real-time mouse pointer on the screen so you can see where the instructor's mouse is, and some really cool stuff like that. So throughout the year, we kind of will have some little UX improvements when it comes to those sort of things. You can, with the video conferencing, there are some instructors that like to do this, also do a screen share on top of doing this presentation mode. And a lot of, I would say many of our instructors also still project on the screen even while they're doing this, so that, students can still see exactly what the teacher kind of is doing on the like anywhere on the interface type of thing. So it really depends. And you can open up presentation view for yourself in two different tabs. So you could be projecting kind of one window of what you want students to see, and then your own window have the grid view open and stuff like that. So you can open up coding rooms in multiple different tabs.
And Joe, that's kind of my question. I wanted to know if I want to see how the students are doing on completing assignments and what they're doing during the class, I can do that on a separate screen than what I'm sharing out on the projector.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you could have, so one of the things, like if you're in presentation view, that will show up, it's going to kick me into presentation view, but I can go like this. I can have like, one window just be showing the grid view, and I can watch that stuff. And another window, I'm actually projecting, where I'm just projecting this, just the presentation for learners to see. So you can do those kind of things. You can have multiple windows open of coding rooms, and it all interacts in real time, even with yourself. So we'll update. Then if you want to end the presentation, you just end it, closes out for all the learners. For you guys, it's going to close out. It goes back to normal, unless you have grid view open, which I'm going to close that now. And now you should be able to freely move between 2.1 and 2.2 as I publish those and do some of those other things. Now, I've been mentioning you can create your own pages, and you can do that even within using CS Awesome. Down here at the bottom, we have a create button. The types of things that you can create in a coding rooms course right now, in the future, we may have other really great things, is 2 different page styles, interactive lesson and coding assignment, and then modules, which are these folders that kind of organize your content. You can put folders inside of folders, modules inside of modules. You can organize it in any kind of tree kind of structure you want to kind of organize these things. We have some people that have like chapter 1. Inside of chapter 1, they have like practice module named practice. They have another one called like coding tasks, projects, whatever it may be. You can kind of put these modules inside of modules to organize it however you'd like. The only difference between, I've been showing you interactive lesson, the CS Awesome uses all interactive lessons. The only difference between interactive lesson and coding assignment is the coding assignment provides one large IDE on the right-hand side, always there on the right-hand side for the learners. We really recommend this for the larger coding tasks and projects so that it's just always there and it's a focus for the learners to just work with one IDE. We also offer, even on the free tier, Visual Studio Code that you can use right in the web browser. So you can use a fully professional IDE right in the web browser with a debugger, all the packages, everything, but it's only accessible on the coding assignment. We don't let you embed a bunch of them on the page. We may in the future, just right now, we don't do that. So let's say I want to do Visual Studio Code and I want it to be Python. Let's take a scroll through while we're at this of all the different IDEs you can add. So you can program JavaScript. You can just create a bash environment, just learning Linux and bash scripting. We do have BlueJ IDE available if you're someone that likes BlueJ. Your students only have Chromebooks, so you can't use BlueJ. You use it right here on Coding Rooms. C, C#, C++, Clojure, number of different things. Django setup. Greenfoot's another one. If you love Greenfoot, students only have Chromebooks now. Haven't been able to use it, you can use it right here on Coding Rooms. Build web pages with HTML, CSS, JS. Java, of course, we have Java version 8. Let's see what we got. 11 and 17. So some language, we have different versions if that's important to you. We also have the Turtle library and Carol J Robot pre-set up for you if those are two things that you've used in Java. Jupyter Notebook. We have a full LAMP setup. MySQL, processing and processing.py. R Studios, something new we just added, very popular thing now that we now fully support online, that full IDE. Even Visual Basic we support. I knew Liz, you were going to get excited. I couldn't wait to get to the bottom of the list. Which is not highly supported, especially in online environments and things. I said Python. Python version 3. I'm going to use Visual Studio Code and I'm going to make an example page. Again, all that this does, I select coding assignment type, is you'll notice you have the same interactive page. You can even embed other IDEs here on the left-hand side. You can do whatever you want with that page, but it also provides a big IDE on the right-hand side for learners. And here's Visual Studio Code right here in the web browser. Students on Chromebooks, even on their iPhone, can run Visual Studio Code now. You can add all your Visual Studio Code extensions. You can use GitHub, with the GitHub Explorer here. You can use the debugger. You can use all the powerful features that Visual Studio Code offers now right in the browser, which is really great. Still access the desktop too. So you have access to that. Go full screen with the desktop if you'd like. All that's available. Let me publish this page so you guys can play around with it if you want. Play around with Visual Studio Code. So that's available for anyone that went in the course. Let me go over to the people page quick. You can set up sections in your course. So you can divide students up into the different groups. So you can filter different grade areas, the lightning grader, the different things per those sections. You can set up group sets for those group assignments. So you can say, you know, groups for this project, and you can set up all your different little groups inside that set. So you can assign it to that set, and it will be, and each of those individual groups will be working collaboratively. As well as you can add other admins to your course to collaboratively develop the course together. We do have some users that a bunch of teachers are working together. They're building a course and then they're copying the pages out of this one that they're working together for their individual course that they're actually doing with students. So that's always an option to kind of collaboratively develop a course. Maybe Anne and Holly are going to do that with the URI course this summer to work together. So you can do some of that. We do have a traditional kind of grade book. So you can go to the grade page, you get a nice grid, you know, assignments that you have published, the individual grade students got on them. You can download this view as a CSV or JSON to kind of manipulate that data, do whatever you need to, bring it into your other systems. And we do have some kind of filters and sorts there for you with that stuff. We're working on a nice analytics page within the next month or so. So you can kind of get some really nice data visualizations of lots of data we collect. We collect data of, you know, the students actually open an assignment, how long they worked on things, some stuff like that, that we'd like to finally show teachers on the front end that they will be really powerful. And then we're also working on this kind of automation workflows that will allow you to kind of really create, if you want to especially create a asynchronous kind of course where you set up like dynamic conditional like publishing of pages. If the learner got at least a 70% on this page, publish this next page to them. If not, maybe publish this other page to them so that they have additional practice. You know, a number of different rules and ways you can automate and give yourself notifications and lots of really cool things with this, kind of build your own logic for how you want the course to behave. I'm going to publish the entire Unit 2 also, CS Awesome, just for people to play around with if they'd like. So that should all be available now as it shows for me. Is there any questions?
So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So this looks really cool and powerful. I would like you to talk to me though about if, you know, I use code.org to teach computer science principles. And I use PLTW's Computer Science Essentials. How would I use this tool if I'm teaching those courses?
I would say that, you know, of course, with a lot of the curriculum providers, if you're interested in using a tool like Coding Rooms, you, especially to mix and match a lot of your own resources, you'd have to pull over that content, put it in a system like this, design it the way you want, which is a lot of the stuff I did over the years, because I'd like to customize even when I did things, you know what I mean? Add some of my own, you know, exercises and other stuff. So I always did things like that. For me at first, it started on GitHub, and I would have students pull a repo and clone that and kind of work on that and submit code back to me. Well, actually, originally it was just zip files, but then I used GitHub to kind of manage that flow for me. And then GitHub came out with a product called Github Classroom, and that kind of helped manage it a little bit more for me. But if you want to use a lot of the other stuff, you kind of have to build those things in yourself.
Okay, thanks.
Does this work well with CodeHS?
So again, similar to that, if you'd like to have CodeHS materials, kind of you'd have to bring those over yourself type of thing. But yeah, anything that's on CodeHS, you could pull over into Coding Rooms, including their videos, coding assignments, things like that. You could technically use on Coding Rooms.
How difficult would it be to bring something over from CodeHS? Would it have auto grading and all the features just like some of these other integrated tools we're seeing?
I forget exactly if CodeHS, especially on the free tier, allows you to see their auto grading scripts. If they do, then yeah, you should be able to copy and paste them right into Coding Rooms and it would work.
Well, Joe, again, I want to just compliment. This is really, really great. Thanks for showing us. I have a couple questions. What about I think that at some point you mentioned that a member or a student would have a local file system. Can they, for instance, put their own data files up there? So if you're writing code that works with data files, they can do that?
Absolutely. Yeah, so a learner, if we, let's just use the coding rooms ID over here. I kind of didn't show this off. We, especially for screen real estate reasons, close this kind of files panel. Right here on the files panel, they can upload their own files. They can download the entire project as a zip. We have some universities that kind of encourage students to work on things locally also. So those universities do a lot of download and upload. Some of their learners will kind of download the code from coding rooms, work on it locally, and then re-upload their solutions to kind of run against the auto grader. So that's very much possible. They can create their own files. Now, one of the things I guess I forgot to emphasize too is this is the template when you're designing a page. So you can add as many files, folders, etc. you want learners to have access to as soon as they open up that page. So they'll get the environment set up exactly as you kind of set it up there with the files and folders you want. We're working even on some, and you can do custom run commands. So when the student first runs the program, it kind of installs some things for them and stuff like that. We're working on better ways to kind of allow you to configure the image if you want it to have some kind of pre-configurations. But we also work very closely with our customers to kind of set up our environments to meet their needs also.
How much control would a student or even the teacher have over customizable installation of libraries and packages? Or are we kind of have to use what's already in the environment, or can they put their own packages and libraries in easily?
Yeah, they can install their own actually. So Python's installed on every instance. So even though I have a Java set up here, I should be able to run Python, and pip is installed already. So I can pip install example, I think is a kind of setup. Maybe pip's not on the default. But if I had a Python set up here, I could do that. NPM for JavaScript stuff. And we can set up other kind of package managers and stuff like that if that was needed. But we do allow learners to do that, instructors to do that. And we're looking at ways to better set up for instructors to kind of, like I said, customize that image that learners are going to work on. So they have a little more control over that. But for like Python, we have thousands of pre-installed libraries available of all the popular kind of ones.
Joe, how is it with Javafx?
Very good. Let's actually, I'd like to give this to everyone. I have a course, a public course that I developed that has tons of demos. So anybody should be able to access this. That has lots of different demonstrations of things. See, my Wi-Fi is not behaving. All right, and let's go to a JavaFX example. And there's a number of examples I have in here of cool stuff. Grid World, if you remember that APCSA lab, I know a number of you have taught APCSA for years. Some cool things to check out. One of the things that people really praise about our online environment versus others is the responsiveness of the desktop applications. Game development, stuff like that is, I'm willing to say, unmatched versus other platforms, especially at our free tier level. So here's a JavaFX Pong version. And the desktop is technically supports multiple collaborators. So if students are working together, like this Pong one, for instance, they're actually working together even on the desktop. So they can play it as a two-player game or something like that. Kind of cool things. They can see each other's cursor on the desktop and stuff like that. So I have examples over here if you wanted to test out the audio. Let me pull up something that's a little more resource intensive. This arcade library, Python arcade library, is pretty resource intensive. And I have a couple different games here that you can check out. And you'll see it runs pretty smooth, actually. One of the things I really like on coding rooms also, when it comes to a learning perspective. So, I mean, this game's running really nice, and we are, you know, putting this through a virtual machine, is on a lot of online IDs, especially, it's really hard to run individual files. You know, coding rooms, if you have, especially like Python, something like that, an introductory course, right? You just want students to be able to have different Python files they're working on and just be able to run them. You can click this little drop down next to the run button. They can select any Python file they want. They click it, and it works as they expect. It executes that Python file, even with Java. So see, I got a little platformer game here, and it's running pretty smooth to be online, running somewhere else type of thing. So you can check out some of these setups. Really cool.